Aloha and welcome to this video. My name is Motivational Micah. In this video today I'm going to be talking about my first DMT experience. And this is just going to be my memory of it, my experience of it, and everybody's is different, not everybody's the same. DMT is definitely the world's most powerful psychedelic. It's definitely something that is completely alien, completely foreign from anything you've ever experienced in your life. If you've done high doses of other psychedelics, some things may feel similar. You may see things that you might see, like if you take a whole bunch of acid or if you take a lot of mushrooms, that experience might be a little bit more connected, but DMT itself is just something else, something completely different from anything you've ever experienced. Basically for me, I did something called changa, which is a herb that's infused with DMT. It's a lot like a smokable ayahuasca. And for me, my experience was wild. It was wild, wild, wild. I basically had someone that I trusted who's taken a lot of people through their first experiences and has done a lot of DMT and has also seen like hundreds and hundreds of people go through this DMT experience. And basically, for me, I was smoking it out of a bong, smoking it out of a really big bong. And he kind of gave me like the countdown, you know, prepped me for it. But honestly, nothing can prepare you for what you experience when you're on DMT. Nothing in this world comes close to explaining or putting into words what you'll experience. And I'm definitely not going to do a great job at it either, but I do really appreciate all these people out there on YouTube documenting or talking about their experiences, so I wanted to do the same. And basically, I filled this bong full, took one deep breath, and just ripped it. And I held it for as long as I could. He was counting me down from 20 seconds. I don't remember anything after 18 seconds. I remember smoke slowly coming out of my mouth and just everything, just geometrically, everything just becoming like a cartoony, wild experience. And for whatever reason, out of all the people my guide, my friend, has seen on DMT, I was by far the most physically active. Most people, when they take DMT, they'll hit the rip and just fall back and just lay down. And for 15 minutes, you know, they're just knocked out. For 15 minutes, they're just laying down. They astrally project, they leave their body. And for whatever reason, I was very active. I was rolling around, I was sitting up, laying down, sitting up, laying down. I was crawling around. And we did this by a lake. We did this by a pond of sorts. You know, it was out in nature, out in the jungle. We had this space to ourselves. There was no one else over there. And that was really nice to be isolated away from society and other people, because I needed that. I really did need that. For whatever reason, I lost a lot of my experience, or I lost a lot of my memory of those experiences. I was going through something really intense, really wild, most likely very vivid, very real. It's really strange to experience something where you have like no past, where you don't exist. Like you're just this observance, this awareness, this consciousness that's existing and experiencing something, but you have no past. You have no understanding of how you got here, what you're really doing. It was just, I got sent. I just rocketed out of my body and experienced something crazy. For whatever reason, like I said, I don't remember most of it. And I think that has a large part to do with coming back into my body, coming back into reality. You know, I, for whatever reason, experienced this DMT trip longer than most people do. Most people, usually it's about 10, 15 minutes, and then they'll slowly start to come back out of it. And maybe like 20 minutes total, they're usually back to normal, usually back to baseline sobriety, normal consciousness. And for whatever reason, I was gone out of my body, tripping for about 15, 20 minutes. But when I got back into my body, or when I started to reconnect and reintegrate with reality, I had a really, really hard time. But what I can remember out of all of my experiences when I wasn't in the physical realm was having this experience of encountering or being in the presence of what I would consider God, of what I would consider the intelligence, the creator, the universe itself. I had this experience of being in its presence. And I was at the edge of this lake, of this pond, and I remember just being face down at the edge of the water where it was muddy, grassy, dirty, just bowing so hard, just being humbled to complete like submission, like I am nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing. Just this complete bowing to God, the presence of God. Like it was a huge light, just this immense light that you can't even explain. But it was extremely bright. You couldn't really look at it. But I did feel its presence of love, of compassion, of just royalty, divinity, this thing I've never ever experienced. But in this realm, what I was feeling and what I was experiencing was so real. Like I was at the foot of God. God was over this lake, over this pond, and I was at the edge of it, just wiping my face in the mud, just bowing, so humble in that moment, in that experience. And it was very vivid, very real, and it felt good to be humbled like that. It felt good to pretty much say, I'm nothing compared to you, to this, I'm nothing. Like, I should be face down in the dirt, wiping my face in the dirt. Like, it was a really, really interesting and awesome experience. I loved it personally. But the real strange thing was I was so active in this actual trip that I ended up getting into the water. I remember in my mind, in my experience of being in the water and like rolling around, having this beautiful experience in the water. And I remember being underneath the water, and like, I'm glad my buddy was there, because I would have died. I would have died 100%. There was no way I would have survived, because I was in my mind, in the experience. I wasn't in the physical. Although my physical body was experiencing things and connected with my experience, I wouldn't have made it. There was no way I would have been able to swim. There was no way I would have been able to not die. So I'm really glad I had my buddy there to guide me through that little encounter. But basically what I wanted to talk about, which I didn't really learn till afterwards talking with other people and their experiences, is usually your first experience, the comeback into reality, is one thing that no one really talks about, but is one of the weirdest, strangest, scariest experiences. So strange. Like, I was in this like real trippy, everything was like, if you had like a strobe light and it's like flashing, there was like little frames to everything. So if you're looking around, there's frames to everything. There's like, it was just so incredibly vivid, it's just unexplainable just how beautiful and trippy and strange everything was. But I was getting into these loops coming back because I was tripping for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, like trying to get back into reality. Like I was talking to my buddy. I was, you know, I'm like, am I Micah? Am I Micah? Am I Micah? Like, you know, am I me again? Like, because what I experienced was really an ego death. I experienced something that I had no recollection of me. I didn't know who I was. I was just this observance. And I had this really weird looping thing when I was coming back to reality and I was talking to my buddy, where I'm like, is this reality? Is this reality? Is this real? Is this it? Like, is this it? And I was still tripping super hard, and he's trying to like welcome me back into reality, into the actual reality, but my mind was still so lost that I experienced this other reality where essentially I felt like this was the pinnacle, like this was the height of awareness, the height, like the highest point you could get to enlightenment or to this understanding of what reality was. And I had this strange experience where basically I'm sitting next to him on the edge of this water, on the edge of this, you know, this pond, surrounded by nature in a very beautiful place, but everything's looping. Like I'm going back out of reality, back into reality, back out of reality, back into reality. And I was there for a long time. And I was pretty much convinced that this was it. This is what reality is. Like, and what I was experiencing was like this. One thing I said a lot when I got back to, you know, when I was coming back to, reality is reality observing itself. And I got that message when I was sitting next to him and this thing was just playing over and over and over again. It just felt like I was just this consciousness experiencing reality, and I'm that reality. I'm that consciousness. Like I am observing myself. I'm a part of this creation, this world, this universe, and I'm rediscovering myself, rediscovering what it is that we are. And I had this strange experience where oneness with everything made the most sense. Like everything was conscious, everything had awareness, everything had this deep, deep, deep intelligence to it, the spirit to it. And I was just one part of everything, and everything was connected. I was my buddy was me, the ocean, or the lake, everything was connected. All the plants, all the trees, everything, all consciousness is connected. It's all from the same root consciousness of the universe. Like if you really think about it, there's only really two ways to understand our existence or the existence of the universe. And this is just my thoughts on it. If you really logically think about it a lot, you know, you really come to the conclusion like, A, this is just a simulation. This is just something someone created, and we're all just experiencing this simulation, this experience. Because when you really think about the universe itself, the solar system, the Milky Way galaxy, and just how many galaxies are out there, if you can get out into a really deserted place where there's no light pollution and you look up into the sky, everything you see is just our galaxy, it's just the Milky Way galaxy. And for whatever reason, it exists on a scale that is unknowable, that is uncomprehendable. You cannot understand how crazy and how big our universe is. And the fact that I'm here, standing here, the fact that you're able to watch this video, the fact that we're able to exist at all in something that's so massive, so unexplainably strange, but still has this consciousness, still has this awareness to create itself, to manifest itself. I mean, I see it as the universe is God, God is the universe, I'm a part of God, I'm a part of the universe, I am this consciousness, or I share in this consciousness. But in my experience, I actually met what I would consider God, and I was nothing compared to what God was. But I still feel I'm a part of God. I'm a little tiny piece of God. And I just wanted to explain that DMT itself is a very, very spiritual experience, very alien, very foreign thing that is just nothing like reality. To experience something like that made me question everything. When I was coming back to reality, I was tripping a lot for sure. Still not really back yet, even though I was physically talking and physically there. I had a hard time accepting this as reality. Like, I thought this was a joke. Like, I'm sitting there and I got super wet. I had mud all over me, grass all in my hair. And I'm like, this isn't real. This is not real. Like, I was coming back and I'm like, I had the strangest and hardest time coming back to reality. Coming back to baseline, coming back to that space. Personally, DMT was life-shattering. It completely destroyed any concept of what I thought reality was, what I thought life is, what I thought I was. I knew in that experience that there's no way I'm just a human being. What I experienced was way too profound, way too trippy, way too interesting, to just feel that I was only human, to feel that that's all I am. I'm just this one human life, and that's the only life I get in this existence. And, you know, I respect everybody's thoughts on, you know, their beliefs and their just their thoughts and beliefs. I respect everybody's thoughts and beliefs. You know, you should believe whatever you want to believe. But I will say that if you do DMT, everything you've ever believed or thought to be true will definitely be questioned, will definitely be reevaluated. I just can't tell you how weird it is to experience something that's so real and you're convinced it's reality and you had no knowledge of who you were before that experience, who you were before you took that drug. And the interesting thing about DMT is it's everywhere, you know. It's in our lungs, it's in our liver, it's in most plants, it's part of life. DMT is part of life. And it's suspected that when you're born and when you die, you're flooded with DMT. Your brain is flooded with DMT, and you're reborn, or you pass on into the afterlife, pass on into a different realm of reality. That's really what I felt it was like, because normally when you die, you know, and you go into this experience, you don't come back as a person that's already been living for a long time. Like, I've been around for 23 years. To come back to me, to come back to who I was so strange. So strange. Well, I guess that's really what I wanted to share today in my experience of DMT. I make a video every day, but yesterday I did not make a video because I had this really, really, really crazy experience. Everything was strange, everything was wild, everything was alien. Coming back to reality, I was not convinced this was reality. And when I kind of started to understand that like what I experienced was a lot like death, that I died, that it was an ego death of sorts, where I lost myself. I didn't know who I was, but I experienced something that's so real and so profound that you learn that there's other realities. You learn that there's other dimensions. You learn that there's more to life than what we perceive. That this life is essentially just an illusion, you know. You could argue that DMT is an illusion. You could argue that psychedelics are an illusion. And there's no really way to prove who's right and who's wrong. There really isn't. You know, reality is reality, perceiving or observing itself. Reality is reality observing itself. That's what I kept saying over and over and over when I was coming back. We are all one. We are all the same thing. I am you, you are me. We're all part of this existence. Like, I could not understand why people don't question reality enough. Why do we all just take this stuff for granted? Like, no one questions reality as much as they should. Existence itself is strange. It's weird. The fact that we're existing right now, weird. And yeah, I just wanted to give my little experience. There's more to it than that. You know, it was a long trip, a big trip. And that's really just what I wanted to explain with my trip. This was my first trip. And I just want people to know that, like, if you go and do DMT, nothing can prepare you for this. Nothing. It's so foreign, it's so strange. You should prepare for it. You should get grounded. You should eat healthy. You should meditate. You should think good thoughts and have intentions if you're going to go into this experience. And I really do feel like I was born again. I really do feel like I came back as a different person. I mean, I'm still me. I still do pretty much the same stuff that I did before, but just your perception of reality is shattered. Your perception of what is real, what is life, what is God, what is awareness, what is intelligence, what is spirit, what is soul. All that stuff is just shattered, and you come back with whatever you come back with. Everything's different, everything's strange, and I would highly recommend it to someone who's a seeker in life, but I would not recommend it to most people. Most people, I don't know if they would be able to survive or return back in any, I mean, everybody comes back. Most people do. I haven't heard other stories of people who didn't come back, but it was a really strange one. And I wish you guys all the best. Much love, much aloha. Thank you for watching this video. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful life. Much love, much aloha. Mahalo for watching this video. Have a great day.